Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Jacob Warren joins us. The Warren Report brought to you by Peak IV Hydration. Jacob, how are you, sir?
What's up? I'm fantastic. How are y'all?
I'm well. How difficult is it to bounce back when an officiating call that is sometimes out of your, especially one that you know that's wrong, and officials make mistakes, but how difficult is it to bounce back when something that's out of your hands goes wrong during a game?
Yeah, I think obviously, like there's so many things that as a player on one side of it, right? You are like when the world, like everything is going against us, everything like they're for them, they're not there, rooting for them, pulling for them, cheating, whatever, and you're kind of blinded by this, I don't know, just this where you're at, right? It's your situation and it's happening to you, right? So you're obviously very upset. But honestly, I think most times that it's not quite warranted. But this time, I mean, you see all the clips, and I know you guys just got done talking about it, but I mean, it takes two hands to count the number of different like big crucial penalties that they either called or didn't call or whatever it might be that could or could not have an impact on the game. And I was just talking about this yesterday. Like I really do hate the when stuff like this happens and then everyone just blames a loss on this. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's necessarily the right way to go about it. I do think we got outplayed the second half. You know what I mean? I think we put ourselves in a position to win the game, and then things happen, and if you're never in that position in the first place, then that call shouldn't matter, right? So I think that that's kind of how I try to think about it, and that is for sure my PR response. But I will say, like, it's frustrating for sure to sit there and watch it. I know on my end too, so I'm not happy about it, but again, we woke up the next day and we're still living, talking about it now, so
yeah, I think it's kind of analogous with what I do is when we have tech issues that are kind of outside my grasp, and
right.
we've had that happen.
We just laugh it off and we say, "Oh wow, Medicare missed. He's on again."
Sometimes I hit the mute button. I don't laugh, but I say some big words that I shouldn't say. Definitely on the YouTube. But yeah, it to me is a frustrating thing. Obviously, however, I want to see if you would agree with this. Tennessee ultimately can't blame the officials in this game. I think they fell short for whatever reason. We'll kind of dive into that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a silver lining, I guess, not necessarily a good silver lining, but that is what you have to look at. You have to look at those things. And I'm sure the guys got back, are looking at, okay, what exactly, why did it lead to this? Why did it even come down to that, right? It's like you're pulling up late for work, right? And you get stopped at a red light. The red light is not the reason you were late to work. You know what I'm saying? If you were 5 minutes earlier, you wouldn't even got stopped by that stupid red light. So, like, don't blame a red light for being late to work. Don't blame getting pulled over for being late to work. Like, it's your fault. You're speeding. It's your fault. You got stopped at the light. You should have left 10 minutes earlier. So that's literally that's just the only way that I'm able to think about it. Because if I think about it any other way, it's just going to piss me off. So, quite frankly,
that's good stuff. Let's dig into this Tennessee offense, because I wrote over the weekend, and I know you're close to Joey Halsley. He's one of your coaches, but you're also close with Alex Golesh. And I'm not trying to suggest that Golesh, who is now, I believe, 5-5 at South Florida in year number 2, and he's not like he's lighting it up. I'm not trying to say that he's the brains behind the operation, but my contention in my column was that there were a lot of good brains in the operation. There was Heupel, Golesh, Halsley, and now they're one short. And I just wonder if the sum of those guys were greater than their individual parts. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I think any team is that way. You know what I'm saying? Especially any good coaching staff. I'm sure there's coaching staffs around the nation that there's one guy calling the shots and everything else just falls into place. But, truly, like, obviously Hype is the leader, but he relies so much on Halsley, on, guys like Glenn Ellerby, offensive line coach, and guys like, Alec Eberle, the tight ends coach, and even relies a lot on the players and stuff. A lot of people that have had a lot of experience, and relies on everybody to kind of formulate a plan and formulate kind of what we're going to choose as the identity of the team. And Sure, you can compare all you want. I mean, you can look at numbers, and that's the whole point of the game is to be better than you were last year, right? So I think as you're just being critical, you continue to look at it and say, okay, what is it? What is it? What is it? But you know, I don't think necessarily finger pointing is the right thing to do. I don't think that that's necessarily, what's called for. I think everybody just kind of needs to settle in and deal with what you got. I mean, you have what you have, and you have good players. You have good scheme that's proven to work. Like, let's just, I guess it's a matter of looking, inward rather than looking outward, rather than looking at refs, rather than looking at, the environment. Look inward and just say, look, man, are we not calling it right? Are we not executing it right? And I'm sure they all know exactly what it is within the program. They know if they didn't execute something right. They know if, whatever. But of course, guys like Hype, guys like Halsey, guys like, Coach Eberle are going to take a lot of that flag, right? And that's just what it is. They are the face of the team. They are the people that are behind pulling strings, and they're the ones responsible for whether the team wins or loses. And now you could also say, so are the players. You know what I'm saying? The players are the only ones that actually touch the football and touch the grass. So why, you know what I'm saying? You can always point fingers. You can always say it's this, it's this, it's that. But, nobody within a building like that cares about who the fingers are pointed at, right? I think everybody just needs to do a good job of supporting each other, and I know they will. And kind of whatever shakes out from it, shakes out from it. Now you have 2 losses, and you could really still end the season with a very, very, very good record. And obviously playoff contention is what it is, and everybody sees the numbers, everybody sees the percentages of will we make it, will we not? But I promise you that team will still be playing in one of the best bowl games that there is outside of the playoff if they don't make it, if they somehow find a way to not let us in. But that's a conversation for, I guess, a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah. Peak IV hydration is the conversation that you need to be having with yourself when it comes to energy or when it comes to hydration. They're in South Knoxville and Sevierville. peakivhydration.com. If we can drop that in the chat. But they also have the patches you can order online that are absolutely unbelievable. I've used them. I know that, Jacob, you're a big fan, and we appreciate Peak IV Hydration bringing you the Warren Report.
Yeah, I always encourage you guys to go just read up, man, educate yourself, understand what it means to take care of your body, to take care of things like hydration, just because, I'm no scientist, but I do understand that it does control a lot of the different processes in your body and just the things that make you feel good, the things that give you a little bit of clarity in your brain, and the things that allow you to work hard and to work out hard and to do all the things that you got to do. So go click the link, man, give them a chance, read about it. If it's something that fits you, maybe give it a try.
All right, Caleb, jump in there, buddy.
So Jacob, I want to ask, I don't want to say it's a personnel issue, but this dates back to you guys last year. Since that 2022 win over Alabama, Tennessee, just as a football program, is 9-8 in the SEC. Since that 2022 win over Alabama, okay. There have been some drop-offs. Because I don't think it's a personnel issue. How much do you think this scheme that was so ahead of the curve in 22 that was putting up points, I don't want to say has been figured out, but people have figured out how to slow it down to not get torched by it the way they did?
So this is the question of the century. Okay. This is something that we've all been thinking about for forever was, okay, like that was sick, right? We scored 48 points a game. Like literally no one could stop it. No one could figure it out. But honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I think the problem is that this branch of this family of offense, right? And without being long-winded, college football, there's families of coaches, right? Mm-hmm. So there's the Saban family, Kirby Smart, guys like Jimmy Pruitt, guys like a lot of these guys that just truly trust hard-nosed defense. They come in with the saying like, hey, look, this is how it's going to be. They're a very disciplined unit. You know exactly what you're getting with a Saban defense. And Saban defense doesn't have to be at Alabama. It is all over the place because Saban has had so many people that he's taught, so many people that have learned under him, that have coached for him, that now go off other places and implement these things. Same exact thing we're talking about with Alex Golesh, how he's at USF. He's now running essentially the same offense that the Tennessee Volunteers are running, right? So you see guys like Alex Golesh at a USF have a lot of success against teams like Alabama. And it's like, how is a USF scoring 30-something points against Alabama? And like he did the same thing at Tennessee whenever we played them in 2022. Like or like, you see what I'm saying? So that, like, this family of offense has expanded so much, and Levy's running it at Mississippi State. They're running at Ole Miss. They run it. It's happening a lot of different places, so people are seeing it more. People are saying our team run it more, and I think it's just getting to the point where people are starting to kind of understand what it is and understand how to break it down, and that's on the coaches, that's on the players to be able to adapt and to be able to continue to push that needle and continue to stay ahead of the curve, as you're saying, and continue to have success with the style of offense.
Jacob, how does the game planning come together? Does Josh Heupel, like, is he the architect that he says, this is how the house is going to be? It's going to be 5,000 square feet. It's going to be an open floor plan. It's going to be this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then the other coaches come in and they do the trim work and they decide, like the wife work, basically. They decide what colors and stuff you're going to use.
Sure.
Or is it, hey, let's all sit down and devise a game plan together? I mean, how does that process work?
Yeah, I think, from what I could tell, it was a lot of cooperation, a lot of different pieces coming in. Obviously, you have to have a guy, any team or any program has to have a guy in the front, or a woman in the front, right? That is leading the charge, that is saying, follow me. I am the one that will take all of this responsibility on my back. People are going to look at me. People are going to talk crazy about me. People are going to point fingers at me. I'll take all of that, right? I just need your help. I need your support in order to accomplish this job, right? And I think that Hype does a great job of delegating responsibility, of allowing other people to give input. And, I think that that's a very humble thing. It takes a lot of humility to be able to do that. But I think he knows that that is what's best for the team, is to have 20 different minds in a room thinking about a play, rather than just him saying, hey, this is it, and I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to do. Like, I don't think that's never been his style, and I think that is how he approaches at least a game planned week, if you will, when you're looking for new things or whatever.
So at the end of the day, it would be accurate to say 100% this is Josh Heupel's offense. It didn't go to South Florida with Alex Golesh.
This is like, it starts with him, if that makes sense. And it's gone everywhere else. And it didn't necessarily, there's a lot of people that it starts with, but he is, I guess, one of the grandfathers of this type of style, for sure.
Right. And Caleb, I want you to jump in here, because to go back, for instance, way back, like before you were born, David Cutcliffe at one point, who I'm sure offensive coordinator, when he went to Ole Miss, I do think to some extent the offense went with him, and Tennessee started kind of a downhill trend. So you don't think that's the case in any shape, form, or fashion?
I mean, no, I guess it could be. Obviously, history repeats itself, and you could probably draw some similarities to the both. But yeah, who knows? I guess only time will tell. But yeah, shout out Cut. My dad played for Cut. I know Cut. He recruited me to Duke. I see him, every once in a while around Tennessee and just wherever, and great dude. I know it's not what we're talking about, but shout out Cut.
No, he is. Caleb got me to text him over whether or not Peyton Manning had what did you, flat feet, like medically diagnosed flat feet. So I texted Cut because I lost a bet. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, sorry.
I was informed by other sources that the jabbing that Peyton Manning did, Jacob, and I know you're young, but I'm sure you remember watching Peyton, at least some clips of Peyton at his prime, and I'm sure you noticed he jabbed his feet a lot when he was. I was told that that's because he was flat-footed, so he moved very slow, and that was a way to keep him on his toes and to be able to move in the pocket. So apparently, the flat-footed thing just meant slow.
I was like, or he's just slow. Yeah.
David texted me back. He said he was a surprisingly good athlete, which is basically a way of saying he's not a great athlete.
Yeah, it's a backhanded compliment there.
So Jacob, it's funny we're talking about this.
Hey, listen, sorry, that's been said about me before. So I think that
Jacob Warren is a surprisingly good athlete.
He almost kind of shocks you with his speed. It's like, bro, what are you talking about?
Jacob, to give Heupel a little bit of credit here, because we said for a while that, I'm sure you've heard, we all said Josh Heupel's this generation Steve Spurrier. Many of us are questioning that right now because the offense just hasn't been as explosive. But we also forgot to look back on the fact that once SEC defenses adjusted to Steve Spurrier, he was a lot more conservative later in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Do you playing for Josh Heupel? We saw them work the tight ends in the game last week.
Mm-hmm.
How willing is he to, if y'all are going to make me work the short field and run the ball and play conservative football, I can do that and win too. How willing is he to do that?
And we'll go to the chat here. I think Colton has a good point. It says it feels like Heupel has been willing to adapt. It's just not happening fast enough, especially with the young quarterback. Honestly, like, I think what you're saying is true. And I think, Caleb, I agree with you too. I think it's, there is a lot of willingness to change, and everything's trying to adapt, like you see Miles Kitselman get involved a lot more recently in the pass game, and Holden getting involved, Ethan getting involved, and they handed a fullback dive to Miles the other night, which was sick. Like, and that's something that has always been, a possibility, or always been in the playbook. You know what I'm saying? You're just seeing these things kind of popping up and showing up. And I think that, if you look at it critically, right, maybe it's just not changing fast enough. Who knows? But obviously they're making an effort to try to get some different things in. And it just is, for one reason or another, sometimes it might not come together. You might not score 35, 40, but no, I do think that they are trying, right? Obviously everybody's trying. It just looks like however it looks to you. I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling at this point, but
no, I don't think you're rambling at all. Let me ask you this: how much does the narrative change as an offense and an offensive approach and a day at the office, whether or not at Sanford Stadium or wherever, if you connect on a couple of those deep balls, just a couple, to change the way defenses play? And I want to dig into that and portions of the Warren Report brought to you by our friends at Triple F Training, where, Jacob, tell us about what you're doing and how people can get in touch with you and they can have elite work done on their kids and perhaps turn them into surprisingly good athletes like Jacob Warren.
Just like me, yeah. So yeah, man, a cool opportunity that I've come across. I've started working with Triple F Sports Training. Essentially, we're a gym. We a private gym. We train youth athletes. We also train adults, but mostly youth athletes. Man, just teaching them how to be a pro. It's led by a guy named Lee Smith, who is truly like a big brother to me. And if you've been around the Knoxville area for a while, you kind of a really long time. I mean, he's old. No, I'm just kidding. If you've been around Knoxville for a while, you've heard of Lee, you've heard of kind of his story. And he grew up in the area and played football at Marshall, played in the NFL for 11 years, and has come back to Knoxville to try to just make an impact on kids, man. Just teach them truly how to use their body, how to maximize their body to the fullest athletic potential. And we do a lot of really good work, man. And I'm actually started working over there in sales for him. So just making a lot of phone calls, meeting people, reaching out on things like this, and just trying to spread the word. So, man, if you would like to, go to triplef.com. Also, we can maybe get a phone number or an email or something in the chat, maybe next session, and get you guys connected. But would love to talk about it. If you have me on social media, you can reach out to me on social media. But for sure, an amazing opportunity that I want everybody to know about.
Lee has his PhD, Pal High diploma.
There we go.
Like me, an alum, but he went, I believe, to Central in middle school, so he didn't go through 3 years of PMS, Pal Middle School.
So he doesn't deserve the PhD. He don't get the PhD.
You don't want to go through 3 years of PMS. All right, funny. So Jacob, back to this offense. All right, two-parter. How much does it change the narrative if Tennessee's able to hit on a couple of deep balls and the way defenses play? And then if you had to put your finger on, and we're not trying to be overly critical here, but if you had to put your finger on, it's more the receivers not making plays or Nico who hasn't developed that deep touch yet. Just break that down for me, the deep ball, how you see it.
Yeah, I see the deep ball, man. Everything don't have to be perfect, but the deep ball is truly one of the hardest shots to hit in the game. And that's my opinion. That's for me as a big tight end, that's sneaky athletic. It was always hard to track that ball. It was always hard to run that ball down. I wasn't amazing at it. I did okay here and there, but truly like have a lot of respect and just really, I think it's one of the coolest plays in football because the ball's traveling so long. It is a very hard catch to make, right? So it's a hard play to actually come across, but you see it all the time. This is literally everything that we work on. This is everything that they train for. I'm sure they throw deep balls every single day in practice. Like, it's something that is just a part of this offense. And I think when you talk about what's missing, why is it something not working? I think when we have had a lot of success, we have thrown the ball like that. We have hit those deep shots, at least 2 or 3 of them a game, or like 1 or 2 a half, and we've run the ball super, super efficient. And I think, you ran the ball pretty well on Saturday, but like not quite as efficient as you would love. And then you don't hit the deep shots, and it's just, you sit there and you wonder, you just have this super bad feeling in your mouth, and it's like, well, if we just hit 2 of those, you know what I'm saying, that the game's different. Not even that they're touchdowns, but just like you said, it forces the defense to play the game a little bit differently. It forces them to maybe give you some more opportunities underneath and to run the ball a little bit easier. But you got a defensive line hand in the face of the quarterback, and he's just letting it rip to the outside edge of the numbers and hoping his guy's there. I'm not saying he's just throwing it willy-nilly, but he's letting it rip to a spot. And if that wide receiver's not on that spot because he got jammed or because he got pushed out a little bit or whatever, it just looks sloppy. It doesn't look great. But let me go like this to you, right? And make you throw a ball down the sidelines to a guy running 20 miles an hour. Like, that's how quickly things get knocked off timing and things get messed up. And I can sit here and make excuses for him all I want, but end of the day is those shots got to hit, and we have to have those in order to have a lot of success and to have the success that we all want and we all know we can have. So,
okay, so let me get back to part 2 of that. Is it more receivers or more quarterback?
See, Dave, that's not part 2. I included that. I just tried to dodge it. You just keep asking me back.
Here are my thoughts. I think it's more Nico, but I don't mean it in a bad way. I think to have the deep ball touch takes experience. Yeah. And I think Hendon Hooker came into a second year as a full-time starter, even though he had to take over in 2021. I just think it's an experience thing. I think it's more so Nico, but I don't mean that it never gets better and never gets fixed.
And I think whenever you can address it like that, and I think that that's a completely fine way of saying it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like I said, I mean, it's just because he's young doesn't mean you can't, put some things on him, right? Like, he is the quarterback of this team, and he is the one that he knows he has to make those shots and make those throws. And I'm sure he's just as upset about not hitting them as anybody else is, you know what I mean? So, just some accountability on that end for sure. I think that's a fair thing to say, Dave.
Did you ever in practice line up as a fullback and dive into the end zone?
No, I'm not a fullback, Dave.
Blame it.
6'6".
Well, I know, but Kisselman did it, and the first thing I did is I turned to my wife and I said, "Why the hell didn't they do that with Jake?"
Dude, I would look ridiculous back there in the 3-point stands, getting a handoff. I haven't received a handoff since I was 7 years old. I played running back. My brother was the quarterback, and we ran all over. But that was a long time ago. I've grown about 3 feet since then.
All right. Jacob, great stuff, buddy. Again, brought to you by Peacock V Hydration. We'll talk to you next Monday, and maybe we can get together before then and break bread.
Awesome. Sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate that.